So today we will be looking at 360 video editing. So really exciting topic. My name is Tom Strnad. I'm the lead digital artist, and really happy that you can join us here today. So I want to thank all of our partners in this project. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts, we have our library partners, we have the Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, and the Wasaga Beach Public Library. Now, the cool thing is, if you join us for the last one, 360 video production, we will be posting this on our YouTube channel, and it has an overview of how to use the GoPro Fusion camera. So that's this lovely little camera here, the GoPro Fusion camera, and this is what we'll be using today to access media and work with it and start the editing process. So this is basically, we look at this as a part one, an intro to 360 video editing, and we will have more intermediate to advanced workshops in this as well. It's a really cool format, and happy that we can present it. Now, in terms of getting access to the camera, it is available for members of the Blue Mountains Public Library. So just like taking out a book, you can just go and access it. You can put a hold on it, and that way they will notify you when it's ready to pick it up. It's a 1-week rental, and then you return it. And there's a quarantine process right now, so a very safe process in terms of all the quarantining of the equipment. Now that camera can then be accessed through your phone or iPad. And today we'll be looking at how to use the iPad app, and then also how to import it into editing software as well, and what all of this really means. And the great thing is the editing software, Blackmagic, can also be accessed through the library IMAX. So that's at the Blue Mountains Public Library, and soon at the Wasaga Beach Public Library and Collingwood Public Libraries as well. The GoPro Fusion camera will shortly be available at the Wasaga Beach Public Library, so that's really great news. Some more access, and in the winter in Collingwood as well. So this camera is really great, simple to use, but offers so much that you can do with it, and we'll look at what that means today. So let's get started. Okay, so here's the overview. We'll look at what is 360 video editing. What does that mean? We will also look at how do you access GoPro Fusion using the GoPro app, exporting footage, and in that app. Then we're going to look at preparing footage and using something called the GoPro Fusion Studio software. Now that is both of these GoPro apps. They're free because it allows you to use the camera and the footage that you're creating with. So that's the only way to get the footage in and to be able to prepare it to use in other editing software. So then we'll look at just how to edit in something like Blackmagic Resolve and what that means. You can also do 360 video editing in Adobe Premiere, Avid Media Composer. So most softwares where you can do some sort of the custom settings, and we'll look at why we need to do some custom settings. So we'll get into that a bit, but the main thing today is to look at how do we access the footage in the iPad and how do we access it in the Fusion Studio, so at least we can prepare it. And sometimes all you want to do is just take one shot you made and be able to export it out and put it onto social media, or just to be able to have that footage posted as a 360 video. And the great thing is with YouTube and Vimeo, it will auto-detect 360 footage. And that's great because once it's posted, that means it can already be user friendly in terms of being able to move around and spin around and access everything. So that's the really cool part. Now, what we're going to look at today is, so the GoPro Fusion shoots monoscopic, so it's not stereoscopic. So it's just using one camera on the front and the back, and that creates the 360 sphere. Now, stereoscopic would be using two cameras for a left and right eye to give you the idea of just like watching a 3D film in a theater. It gives you the left and right eye. Again, something more advanced, something that we're not looking at in the creator space, but just if you're ever wondering, it gives you those choices sometimes when you're rendering and also when you're uploading to YouTube or Vimeo, whether it's monoscopic or stereoscopic. So all of this footage we're dealing with on the GoPro Fusion is monoscopic. Just wanted to identify that. So that's really great. Now, let's move along. So I'm gonna, I have the iPad set up here. So right now what it's doing is so the GoPro Fusion camera is turned on. That's all I need. So I've shot some footage. I did a bit of shooting yesterday luckily, because today it's rainy here. So we got some great footage yesterday, shot a few different pieces, and we'll go through the process of, okay, now it's on the camera, how do we deal with it? And this is really important because if it's on the camera, we can't do too much with it if it's just sitting on the camera. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, I open up this app. So this is called the GoPro app, and you can use it for any GoPro camera. And that's the fun thing. So it's not just for the GoPro Fusion. It will control and deal with any GoPro. But with the Fusions, there's also a newer 360 camera called the Max, and it has a screen built on it. And that all those 360 cameras give you extra options, and we'll look at what that means. So again, so here's the screen here. I'm going to go right to the iPad actual screen. So here we go. You see it has the Mountain Goat Fusion, so that's my camera. You can name it whatever you need to. The Creator Space ones are usually TBM CS Fusion. And it says there's a blue check mark connected. And now what I can do is I have two options. I can control your GoPro. And we did that last time in terms of video production and controlling the camera, so we can like stop it with the iPad as a remote control. So it's using Wi-Fi to control the camera. It's going to use the same Wi-Fi to access media. So the media is going to be in a low res quality. So this is really just a preview and work with, but it's not necessarily for final post-production. So this is a great way to see what you've shot. So I'm going to click View Media, okay? And then what it does is, it's already found it. So sometimes this can take about a minute. So, just let it load. I just preloaded it so that in the interest of time, we wouldn't be sitting here waiting for it to load. So it's preloaded, and I have some of the footage that I shot yesterday. And this is just in and around Collingwood on the Harbour Trail, really nice trail. I encourage everyone to get some fresh air and walk there as well. Oh, my GoPro is turning off. So I'm just going to turn it back on. So yeah, this is something that can happen, is that the GoPro will time out. I haven't been doing anything with it. So once you're viewing the media, it's not going to turn itself off, but I just turned it on and so on. So right now I have 92% battery, plenty of battery life. You want to make sure there's a fresh battery once you're viewing your media as well. Over 70%, let's say, would be the minimum. So definitely do that. Okay, let's get back to this. So I'm going to go to View Media. Now it's actually going to have to load, so we'll take a second. It's done. There we go. So that was pretty quick. Now let's look at it. I'm going to click on these. It has a little world globe, and that tells me that it's 360. And now with the iPad, I can actually move it around to what I shot. So this is no longer live. This is now as I shot it. So I can play it. And you'll see me just walking. And now I can actually move it around with my finger, right? So I'll show you guys. So I can actually move it around with my finger to, figure out kind of where I want it, like adjusting the horizon line. So if I want this to be front forward on the trail, that's perfect. So you can see this is my 360 shot, and now I can spin it around with the iPad in a 360 manner to see, anywhere on this trail. So this is how cool. I always think it's really such a cool technology, and it's so simple to use. Okay, so now that's one footage piece. So now let's say you want to do a bit of editing. So I can just kind of scroll back here on this scroll bar right on the bottom. And we'll say, okay, let's start it from 12 seconds. So then I can do is I can take the scissor button here on the bottom and tell it to, you can see how it's just highlighting a certain section. So let's say there's about 22 seconds, and that's it. Okay, so now what I've done is I've trimmed, right? I click on it again, it finishes the trimming. So it's a 10-second trim. Now on the top, it's asking me, hey, do I want to save? And I'm going to say, yeah, let's save. So it's right here, the blue on the top, next to, let's go right to save. 3%, 5%. So it takes a bit of time. The 360 stuff isn't very fast. So we're dealing with a pretty higher resolution. So I should note in the 4K mode, it's 3840 by 1920. So it's like HD, but 2 to 1, exactly doubled. So 3840 by 1920 is our resolution. So it's a pretty big resolution. So it takes a little bit of time to render. So what it's doing in the rendering is it's taking the footage and it's taking from the low res into a high res, and it's stitching it and performing all this magic to make it smooth, have no stitch line. And you recall we talked about the stitch line being between the two cameras. So it's trying to smooth that all out and get it pretty clean. And also if I'm a little bit jerky with the camera, it's trying to smooth it out. So 10 seconds, you can see it's taking a few minutes. So we'll just finish rendering this, and then we'll be able to look at some of the other footage. But by rendering this short clip, then I can actually just export it and put it, to like my social media and things. So I just wanted to be able to show you guys how we can use this to quickly see what we've shot on the camera. It's a great tool for that preview or review of what you've shot. And then the second thing is it's a great tool to be able to export out to social media and to other platforms. So what will happen is it will come back here to this actual to the gallery. So let's just have a look at something that's been rendered before. So it does take a bit of time. So again, in the interest of our webinar time, I'm going to have to jump through a little bit here. So this is just rendered out a piece of something. Now what's cool is, see that movement? This can all be accomplished and achieved through your finger and repositioning it to what's called like little planet mode. This is the GoPro Fusion Studio. And how does this work? So I'm going to totally, I think my renders are done here. Yeah, great. So let me just quit out of this and we'll start right over again. So under Launchpad, I go to the rocket ship. I'm going to go to Fusion Studio 1.3. So what I've done is it gives you two things. You can connect your Fusion through like Wi-Fi and go directly from it. But as you can see, it's rather slow with Wi-Fi. So, we want to go pretty quick. And what we want to do first is add media. Okay. So what I've done is on this hard drive, I have an external hard drive, 360 December 11th footage. So let's look at what that looks like. Right, so I have card 1, card 2, and what I've done is that's directly from the camera. So I've made card 1, card 2, right? And what that refers to again is, remember we talked a little bit about this in the last webinars. There's a card 1, card 2, the front and the back of the camera, right? We have the card 1, card 2. So this is how I like to recommend doing things, is to have card 1, card 2. And by doing card 1, card 2, the software will understand what we're doing in terms of finding the footage. So I'm just going to click on the main folder, 360 December 11 footage. I'm going to hit open. And now what it's going to do, it's going to find all of this information here of the shots. And they're just numbered. And they give you like how much time and so on. So let's just go full screen here. So this gives us all of the footage that I've shot, and it's just loading off of the card, off of an external hard drive. So this makes it a lot faster than working with the camera. So that's why I wanted to really jump ahead into here. So we can see the footage, export from there. We'll get back to that on the app. But here, this is the magic. This Fusion Studio is where you get your true full quality renders completed. And that's always a really fun thing to be able to do. Okay, so it's just going to finish loading. We have a couple more shots, and I think we have a couple shots from our last week when we did our 360 in class here too. Okay, so now let's click on this one. So now I'm watching it in the equirectangular mode. Right? So the first thing I want to be able to do is I can take that footage and with my mouse I can align the horizon line, because we can see how it's kind of not perfect. So literally clicking on the mouse, you can see this grid shows up, and you can squeeze it around to get that kind of right horizon point that you want. So I really want to get, the kind of middle area of the trail. And see, it's starting to look more normal based on how I was holding the camera and stuff. So we want it to look pretty straight. You get that really nice straight horizon line. So that's one of the first things to do. And it's going to remember that exact setup of, the horizon line. In more advanced editing of 360, we can always change that. And that's called reorienting. And it's something that can be done. So you can see right here, it's done a yaw, pitch, roll based on just my mouse, right? So that's there. Full stabilization, so that's great. Then what I want to do is go to the next thing, settings. I'm just going to leave it in GoPro color, but you can also adjust your colors here if you want. And then the next thing is I want to just figure out how much do I want to render. So I'll just take a little bit of this shot, let's say 12 seconds. Okay. And then from there, I'm going to add to render queue. Now here it gives you different options, and these are great. So editing is if we're going to edit it in stuff like Adobe Premiere or Blackmagic Resolve. Facebook lets you get it ready for Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo. So these are presets. So you can render it out directly. So that 10 seconds, you can render it to Facebook and choose the resolution. So I recommend the 4K resolution because at the end of the day, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, that's all that it's going to be played in. So that's all we really need to work in. And that 4K resolution, again, is that 3840 by 1920. So I know there's a lot of numbers. The great thing is you can rewatch this Crowdcast webinar and see, go over these numbers again. But that's what it is, 3840 by 1920. So imagine the image that we see right now, it would be a little bit wider than the frame you're seeing in this webinar because it's 2:1. And what you're looking at is about 1.79 or 1.8 to 1, roughly, that kind of range. So it's, we're a little bit wider in the 360 realm, okay? So then we can choose if we want 360 audio. And now we talked about it before, the ambisonic panel of audio that the GoPro Fusion can capture allows it to work with sensors. So if you're watching in Facebook and you're spinning the image around, the sound will relate to where you're looking. So you can render it out in that manner. And that's a really quick way to do that. So here, let's say I want it for Facebook 4K, I want it in 360 audio, create the render queue. And here it is, 59 megs. It's telling me it's going to take. And I'm just going to double click it, see the other resolutions here. So it's H.264. So it's going to be an MP4 H.264. You can see the 4K resolution, 360, and D-warp. So that parallax compensation, what does that mean? So that compensation is working with the two cameras and trying to make sure that there isn't anything weird happening where they meet in the stitch line. So that's the parallax compensation, because parallax is where the two cameras meet. So it's really a stitch line compensation. There's a lot of magic that happens. The settings are very simple. And that's the great thing, is that we don't have to worry about all the really complex settings. Okay. Okay, so then from there we would just render selected. It's going to take a long time to render, so I'm not going to do that render right now. And then here the other option is, so that's all we need to do is we add to render queue, decide, do we want to have it for editing? And if it's for editing, I would also recommend just doing, in H.264, and we can also do the ProRes mode. So let's look at what that means if we add to render right here. So instead of H.264, we can go to ProRes 422. That's what I recommend. The Cineform, it doesn't really work with a lot of editing apps, so it's more of a GoPro format. So really your two choices here are H.264 or ProRes 422 for editing. Then we leave it in 4K, and then whether we want 360 audio or stereo, I oftentimes just work it in stereo because at the end of the day, not a lot of people are gonna have ambisonic sound headphones, and then there's the D-warp and leave that on. right? So typically for editing, I would go ProRes, 4K, stereo. So that would be the editing settings versus the Facebook settings. Okay, so now let's go look at this again. So here we have a button that says 360 or over capture. So what's cool here is I go to over capture. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to actually extract a HD image of the footage. So I don't even have to render this in 360, right? So we can actually you know, have the horizon like this, and if I go to over capture and watch this, so now I'm just going to get like should play it back. Let's see. So now it's playing it back like HD footage, 16:9 out of the 360. This is the really cool thing of, you know, how you want to render it out. So you can see right here, it's 16:9. I can also say do a 4:3 square. So for social media, I can do a straight square for like Instagram, right? So this, 69. GoPro wide is the setting there. Okay, and then I can also do something that's called Little Planet, and that does that squeeze look as if I'm, you know, in a little planet. So that's that fun look that we can do. So these are the options, which is really, really cool in over capture. So I can just go back to GoPro wide and then just say this is how I want it. So look at the amazing options that we have from our 360. We can render it out as a 360 video, that equirectangular mode. So that's, think of it again as the globe stretched out, bottom, top, stretched out globe, equirectangular, that we can then work in as a 360 mode that can be watched in 360. Or we can create just an HD version, 16:9, 4:3, or square for like Instagram. And then we can also create that fun version, which is the Little Planet version, where everything is like the whole world. We're inside a globe. And I think that Little Planet really helps to show what, you know, is being captured in terms of when it comes to 360, how the cameras do capture everything like we're inside a globe. So it's really cool what can be done. So you can render it all out like this. You can extract HD footage from the 360. So now I'm back to 360. So see the difference? The equirectangular mode looks like this, and then HD is just pulling that part of it within that. So you can, I always say there's like 6 HD planes. We have front, back, left, right, top, bottom. So those 6 planes are what, you know, creates that equirectangular, but we can over capture. So I can just capture, you know, I can just go top, I can just go bottom where you're going to see me holding it. I can also just do an HD of the side of the trail. I can do an HD, and again, this is just with my mouse, you know, and find different kind of shots that I want to create, right? So all I'm doing again is just with my mouse, moving the mouse around to spin it around with the cursor. That's all that's happening there. Okay, so that's really cool. So now we can look at some of the other footage, and what's key here is that the blue lines is just to get what you want. So for example, here's a shot that I did where in the beginning, you'll see me like, I'm walking away from the camera. So we don't want that. That was just me walking away so I can hide, right? So those are the kind of garbage parts of the shot that we want to get rid of. And again, where am I kind of looking? So I want to probably position it more so that my point of interest is right here with the water, right? And then here we go. Right? And that's really cool. And then, you know, how much do I need beyond that? You know, I can decide, and it's telling me exactly here in this blue, this is 12 seconds out of an original 33 seconds. So that's something I'd like to recommend too, is that edit down exactly what you need and post that. You know, if you have a 3-minute video, nobody wants to watch a 3-minute video where you're walking around getting the camera ready. Just post a really cool part of it. And this is where we can quickly get an edit out, render it out, and then you can upload it to Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo. All of those will automatically detect 360 video, and then your post is ready to go in 360. If you render it out in over capture as a regular HD file, then it just gets posted as a regular HD file. Little Planet, same thing. It's just a regular video file versus that 360 mode that you can spin around. Okay, So that's all really cool. So that's how we get everything ready in here. Now it does take a lot of your computer's resources, GPU, RAM, and so on. I'm using a 32 gig RAM Mac Mini for this rendering right now, and 10 seconds took about 5 minutes. So it's not bad, because that used to take even longer than that, but it takes a lot of resources. So make sure, take the time. Like 360 isn't very fast in terms of editing, but definitely take the time to make it work, and as best you can, and so that you don't rush things at the end of the day. Okay, so that's how we can prepare all of it in Fusion, and we just go through shot by shot. And this is the Fusion Studio, I should say. So it's designed for the GoPro Fusion camera, and it's free. The GoPro app on the iPad is free as well. So you can see these different shots I took, just fun things of by the Collingwood terminals. And again, I always have to get myself out of the shot, and then spinning around what's kind of the cool point of interest. So probably the terminals, and you'll see me probably coming back at the end here, where I'm walking back to turn it off, right? So all of that is really garbage. We don't want any of that. So from this whole length, it's just 16 seconds in and out, and before it used to be a minute, right? So we're just getting what we want out of it, versus getting tons of other stuff. Okay, so here we go. Here, now I got the right shot. This is what I wanted to get. Okay, so here's now what I did was I saved. I got the footage off of the GoPro Fusion camera, right? So the camera right here. I got it from the camera right to the iPad. So now I directly have this footage on the iPad, right? And I can play with it in terms of where do I want it to go and so on. So you can see the quality is downloaded now, and we're no longer low res preview. So I can zoom in and out, and see I can make these quick video movements. Okay, so I'm going to get walking, so that's cool. Now I'm going to just cut this and say, okay, I only want this much. Okay, that's great. Hit that again. I'm going to save that. Now the save is a lot faster because we're not going off of the low res. Okay, and now I got this short version saved. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so out of this, so that's how we can just save little small pieces. Now what I can do too is I can hit reframe. And what's really cool about reframe is you can drag, rotate, and zoom. So I'm just going to skip the tutorial. And what we do is, as we play it, I can create movements. So check it out. I'm going to play it, spin around, zoom in. Okay, and then I'm going to spin it around and go around this way. And you can see it's creating these little like keyframes. So then you press on that, and now what it's going to do is from here to here, it's going to spin it around. Okay, so let's say from here, now I want to say, okay, I'll go like that, another keyframe, and I'll keep going, pause, okay, and I'm going to say, let's spin this way, and click on that. So let's play it back now. I hope you guys can see the keyframes here. So what it's doing is it's creating these keyframes of movement with my hand. So it creates this there, and now I'm going to spin around. Okay, and let's create another one where I zoom out to like a little planet kind of thing. Okay, and let's see what that looks like now. So this is the real fun part where you can get with the GoPro app. So it's kind of more of a fun app where you can put this video together and post it on social media as a regular HD extracted video. Look at that. And then we go to like Little Planet, right? So that's the really cool, neat thing. And then from there, I can save it, and then I can export it as well. And then here you can clear all keyframes. You can, go out of overcapture, right? So again, that's that overcapture mode. Really, really cool, fun mode to work with. Okay. So now let's move on to working in something like Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve, and we'll just go through that, just touch on it, and we'll get into some more tutorials on that later that will be coming up. So we're just going to look at the footage as it's been rendered. So I just want to show you guys that part here. So here in the hard drive, I've created like a 360 renders folder. I'm going to double click on it, and then in QuickTime Player, I'm able to play it back. So you can see how it's rendered it out into this beautiful, look at the crisp image, really high quality 4K. And again, this shot's 10 seconds, took about 5 minutes. So it's not bad. If you don't have a lot of RAM on your computers, feel free to come to our library partners. So again, Blue Mountains Public Library, there's 2 computers there. One is specifically designed for video editing in 360. And it's a great way to render faster. So if you're finding that you're trying to do this render at home on your computer and it's taking an hour, with 32 gigs of RAM and a i7 Intel processor that I'm using here, it takes about 5 minutes, right? So that would be the same, it's roughly the same computers. We have 40 gigs of RAM in our digital arts computer stations, the iMacs. And they're 27-inch iMacs with the Retina screen, so you get to see all the quality of the color as well. So please feel free to use those systems as well. So I do want to mention that those are available. Okay, so now from here, we're going to launch DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so now what I'm using today is the DaVinci Resolve Studio 17. Now, you can also use the free version up to the 4K modes in 17, and if you need more than that, you have to go to the studio. Now the good news again is in our library digital arts computers, the studio is the system that is available. So that software again is totally free and available in the libraries. So right now, Blue Mountains Public Library, and coming soon to Wasaga Beach Public Library, and in the early winter in the Collingwood Public Library as well. Okay, so I'm just going to create a new project here, and going to just do an import, new bin, 360 footage, and project settings. We're going to go to custom, and this is important. So I need to go 3840 by 1920. And I'm going to go 23976 and 23.976. That's the frame rate that I shot the footage in. So now I have 3840 by 1920. So that's step one. Step one, create the project settings 3840 by 1920. Again, you can rewatch this, so don't feel you're going to miss anything as we go through this. Okay, so 360 footage. Now I'm going to right click here, import media, go to my drive. I got 360 footage, 360 renders, and I'm going to grab these 2 MP4s. And I'll grab the QuickTime as well, just for reference. Okay, so now I got these shots, like so, right? And that's the cool thing. So now I can play these back, right? So you can see the 360 footage, and I'm in Resolve, right? So that's how we've brought it in, and it's filling the whole frame. You can see these are 3840 by 1920. Our project is 3840 by 1920. So that's exactly how we want it. Everything's matching. And that's really cool. Okay, so now let's go to the edit mode. And what I'm going to do is let's create a new timeline. 360 demo. Okay, and let's put these shots in here. So there's me walking on the trail here. Okay, so let's just put the whole shot in. If you need to learn a little bit more about editing in Resolve, the great thing, and this is the really cool thing, 360 video editing isn't any different than regular editing, except now you don't have to worry about different angles because the viewer decides the angles. So you just have to worry about which shot, how long the shot has to be, and what the next shot should be. So that's all you're doing in 360 editing, which is really cool. So I've pre-rendered these, so I'm just going to use the existing amount of footage. So go from here. So I'm just using a non-solid state small external drive, and again, this is 4K, so it's stuttering a little bit along, but again, you can come to our library, Digital Arts computer stations, and they are loaded with RAID Thunderbolt 3 drives, and that gives you the power you need to do the 4K without any kind of stuttering. We can also, change the quality modes of how much we want to see this footage in, and for playback, so optimization. But this is fine for our demo today. Now, let's look at what we can do to this software. To these edits. So if we need to deliver the 360 mode, so the one thing we can do here is I'm just going to go over to Fusion mode. Okay, and what we can do is, if I hit Fusion, I can go to 360, and I'm going to go auto. So that's one way we can quickly see what what our footage is going to look like. Let's go back to edit. Okay, so now all we need to do work is an equirectangular. I'm going to go to the reorient here. I'm going to put that on here. And what the reorient lets us do is I'm going to just go over here to our effects, reorient, and what I can do is I can move the image around. So I'm just going to Command Z that to undo it. Right? So I can pan around, and what this is, I'm using the Boris Continuum VR module, and that will allow us to move the shots around. So if I want to look behind, I don't have to re-render it. I can just reorient. I can sharpen, blur. Then the insert, ultimately it's designed to bring in pre-created text. So let's actually do that. Let's import something that we can work with. Let me go to my drive here. Okay, I'm going to go to this little logo and import this. Okay, so let's just say this is a logo that we want to put in our shot right here, right? So I'm going to just make it a little bit smaller. And so any kind of text or logos, okay, in 360, what we need to do is we need to create an insert on it. So it becomes like this. Now see how that's square? Now that's going to look, when we go to the 360 mode, so let's just go over here to Fusion. What we're going to be able to see is the viewing of this in the 360 mode. This element is small, but this is what it's going to be like. Because imagine here where I'm just going through my mouse area. That's all you're going to see on a panel, on a window. Okay, so let's just do a quick render out of this, then we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so that's great. So I'm going to go to the delivery window. Here's our final task of how we need to deal with this. So what we're going to do is, let's say if we go to Vimeo, we're going to actually just do a regular custom And what's important here now is we need to go to advanced settings. And, oh, sorry, I'm going to do the H.264. There we go. So we've got to make sure that our settings stay 3840 by 1920. Okay, and then what we're going to do is when we render that out, it's going to do 360 video demo, add to render queue. Okay, so I'm just going to render that out. It's not going to take too long, which is great. And then we'll be wrapping up here. If you have any questions, you can start to ask me questions. There's, you know, the GoPro app itself, really cool way on the iPad to, you know, do those repositioning keyframes, save it out, share it. And then you saw in the Fusion Studio the ability to, you know, add, you know, to cut things down, render all your footage out how you need it. So that's kind of the editing prep. And then the final thing here is how do you, you know, work in, you know, different editing software. So you can edit in Blackmagic Resolve, just make sure it's 3840 by 1920, and then using the Boris Continuum VR suite to readjust your footage and panels. And then the other thing is to work with other software you can use as well. But the main thing is prepping it in the Fusion software Fusion Studio software that's free. And once you have it prepped, then it's pretty easy to work with. So okay, here we go. Just rendering out with that title. It's taking a moment here, which is okay. And %, we're almost there, 95%. I can feel it, 98%. And that's it. So we're done. So that's perfect. Okay. So now I'm just going to escape from there, and I'm going to do Command H, just hide that out. And we've created a video. Okay, that's great. And then from there, what we basically do is you can then upload it to any of your favorite apps. So in this case, like Vimeo, we can upload it right to Vimeo. And you know, what would that look like? So let's just have a quick look here. I'm going to see if I can put it right up to our Vimeo channel. Get in here. Okay, here we go. So I'm logged in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do an upload, new video. So, you know, different things work in different ways. So I'm just going to put this basically right in here. I have this render, drop it right in here. Okay, so it's going to take a couple minutes. Again, if you have any questions, let's start asking. We can start going through some of the questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me in the question bar. This upload is going to just take a couple minutes, and then we'll look at the final elements that we need to do to make it 360 as well. If it's sometimes it auto detects it, but I just want to show you guys the process in Vimeo to make sure that it's detected as a 360 video shot. So it's just moments away. So again, if you have any questions, you know, feel free to ask me. The 3840 by 1920, really important project settings. You can use other software. Adobe Premiere has a whole robust 360 elements to it. The Fusion Studio software is great just to render pieces and edit down your shots. You don't have to edit with multiple shots as well. So I'm just kind of going into the more advanced things. If you want to have, 3 or 4 shots, putting them together to tell a bit of a story with those shots. You can also just have one really cool shot that you put together, want to render it out and post it. So that can be done with the GoPro app on the iPad or with the actual Fusion Studio as well. So this is just going to take a sec to encode. Here's the one thing in Vimeo, I was just trying to find where it is. So it's under distribution. And then what we need to do is we're going to put recorded in 360, monoscopic. And that's the really important element there. And I'm going to hit save. Okay, and there's some advanced 360 settings. So we can decide like where we want it to be. Right, so now we got a 360 video. So that's all we needed to do. So I just wanted to make sure we get the right, so again, distribution, and we're just going to record it in 360. It's just under the distribution tab when you go to your Vimeo video. And what it's going to do now, so you can see now it has that little arrow here. I'm going to go to full screen, and this is what we just created now in Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve. And now with this mode, so I have 38 by 40, right? I just say, hey, this is a 360 video. That's all you need to do in Vimeo. Facebook, YouTube does the same thing. There's always a little button somewhere. Hit play. And look at this, right? So here's what I wanted to do. So when we add in a title or graphic, again, we'll have more of these coming up. So please stay tuned for more. But this graphics, you can see now it looks proper. Like even when I spin it, it's in the right kind of realm. It moves with the 360 world of the camera. Otherwise, it would be warped. So that's why that insert that we use with the Boris Continuum tools that will be available in all the library computers with Blackmagic Resolve. You put that in for any of your graphics, and then you can ensure that they show up the right way. So that's really important. We'll have more on that again to come. But this is just to get us started. And you can see this arrow here. There's that little arrow thing right over here. There's like a circle, right? That circle is showing us where we're looking, right? So now I can look up, I can look down, right? And it's so cool. So I'm using this on a desktop, and so I have to use the mouse to move around. If I watch this on an iPad, you spin the iPad around to make it spin around. Right, so that's all we need to do. Project settings, render it out, and then just tell the program, Vimeo, YouTube, Facebook that it's in 360, monoscopic, that's the key. And that's all, we go from there. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions right now. If there are any, we're just gonna be wrapping up now. But yeah, I want to definitely thank everyone for joining us. You can rewatch this. We'll post this on our YouTube channel. So again, this is the beginning of 360 video editing. There's getting your footage through the GoPro app, using the Fusion Studio, and then being able to work on it in Resolve are all those the key steps in moving everything around. And getting everything ready from your camera and getting it out to people. Otherwise, it's just stuck on your camera. So that's the fun thing. Not only is the camera cool, but then we get to go to the edit mode. So again, my name is Tom Strnad. I'm the lead digital artist of the Creator Space. Thank you so much for joining us. And want to just thank all of our partners in this. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts, our library partners, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library. Please check out the GoPro Fusion camera that's available at the Blue Mountains Public Library and soon at the Wasaga Beach and Collingwood Public Libraries. And also please check out the iMac Digital Arts Workstation. There's 2 available at the Blue Mountains Public Library. So if you're a member there, please use those resources, and we hope to see you again soon. And I will talk to you soon in another live webinar. Check us out in upcoming tons of editing ones coming up in January, February. So please sign up now. Take care. Have a great rest of the day.